The names of states are often so similar that one starts to wonder if they could be the same thing. Austria and Australia, Niger and Nigeria, Iran and Iraq. But no, the states are different and so different, and the coincidence of names takes on the format of irony. It seems that life itself decided to test a traveler's knowledge of geography. Today our story is about two Middle Eastern neighbors, Iran and Iraq, and how they differ, and is always about everything in order. And we begin with a simple explanation. Iraq is an Arab state. Iran is inhabited by Persians. Yes, you are right, the Persians, who time after time created one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world. In the order of narration, we will first tell about the history of Iran, then Iraq, and the differences between the cultures will become visible to the naked eye. At the end, we will answer the question posed. Welcome to Tehran. Iranian statehood is one of the oldest in the world, and according to written sources, it dates back more than 5,000 years. Until the XVI century, the state religion was Zoroastrianism, one of the first monotheistic religions in the world, which put in the center of attention just the personal actions of the human soul. Later on, Shiite Islam became the state religion. The main population of Iran is Persians, a people of Iranian group speaking Persian language. The number of 55 million people, of which 50 live in Iran, makes them the largest ethnic group of the state. Interesting fact by its structure, the modern Islamic Republic of Iran is one of the few theocracies in the world. After the Islamic Revolution and coming to power of fundamentalists, the public life and state structure are based on the norms of Sharia. On the one hand, this makes the state safe for tourists. On the other hand, if you like to party, you better go to the Netherlands. In its history, Iran has experienced many conquests. From the conquest by the army of Alexander the Great to the Arab, Mongol, and Turkic conquests. One of these conquests, namely the Arab conquests, brought a new religion, Islam, to the realm of Zoroastrianism. Although in modern Iran some freedoms are truncated due to the theocratic nature of the state system, in general the country can be called free in terms of freedom of conscience, taking into account local specifics. In addition to Islam, the constitution recognizes and protects a number of religious minorities: Christians, Zoroastrians, and Jews. Looking ahead, the Arab conquest not only brought Islam into the ranks of the Persians, but also caused considerable friction between the Persian population and the Arabs. Although Islam was eventually accepted as a doctrine, the Arabs were soon expelled. The Abbasid and Umayyad caliphates established in mainland Iran became the zenith of Islam's golden age. At the same time, the fall of the Abbasid Caliphate during the Mongol conquest by Hulagu Khan and the Battle of Baghdad in 1258 brought the period of the golden age of Islam to an end, and the ruin of the Baghdad libraries can be considered one of the greatest losses of knowledge to mankind. Our attentive viewers may have noticed we talk about sort of Persia, but we also mention the Arabs in Baghdad, the capital of our second guest, Iraq. And you would be right, the histories of the two states are so intertwined that it is sometimes impossible to separate the events of one from the other. And it is worth asking the question, is it necessary to do so? We believe, no, to consider one history in isolation from the other is to condemn oneself in advance to a mistake. No matter what tragedies the peoples have experienced in the past, life continues in our time. The modern Iranian state was created by the Islamic Revolution more than 40 years ago. It has been under sanctions from Western powers for most of that time. Think about it. More than 4 decades of sanctions pressure, and yet Iran is a developed state that plays an important role in the Middle East. Moreover, it is the only Islamic state that has come close to creating its own atomic bomb, and naturally, this does not please many people. First of all, Israel, which for many years has been doing everything to prevent such a development. Separately, it is worth mentioning the relationship between the two states. Although now they can be called warm, under former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein, the countries fought a bloody war for almost 10 years, which ended with the status quo and the deaths of tens of thousands of people. And if we've talked briefly about Iran, it's time to turn our gaze to Baghdad. The swords of Qadisiyah salute you. Even people far removed from history and politics have heard at least something about Iraq. At least they have heard of the Iraq War, which began in 2003 to overthrow the rule of Saddam Hussein. However, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Iraq has a long history. For starters, Iraq is Mesopotamia, the cradle of human culture and civilization. Here's to the Sumerian city-states, the birthplace of writing, ancient Babylon, the Akkadian Empire, Assyria, until eventually Cyrus the Great conquered the modern lands of Iraq, including them in the Persian Empire. Thus, the destinies of the two peoples begin to intertwine in ancient times and are inextricably linked until the current day. Closer to the VI century AD, the territory of Mesopotamia is finally conquered by the Arabs, including it in the Arab Caliphate, the very same that would later conquer the Persians. Islam is finally established as the dominant religion, and its centers become Basra and El-Kufa. Separately, it should be mentioned that Shiism originated in Iraq, and the majority of modern Iraqis are Shiites. Former President Hussein, on the other hand, was a Sunni. For the relationship between the nations, an important clarification. The histories of the two nations are so intertwined that it is not clear whether we are talking about Iraq or Iran. Be that as it may, contemporary Iraq presents a very disturbing picture. First of all, it is connected with the consequences of the military operation of the Western countries against the well-known group. The ethno-regional map of Iraq is quite colorful. Shiites, Sunnis, Yazidis, Kurds, Christians. According to the most reliable censuses, Shiites make up the majority of the population and are naturally drawn to Iran. Whereas during the Sunni Hussein years they are poorly represented in government. In general, we can say that we have made a brief excursion into the history of Iran and Iraq. Let us now discuss what are the differences between Iran and Iraq. At first glance, both states have a similar name, profess the same religion. Their history is intertwined so that they conquered each other every few hundred years, changing in turn. However, there is a difference, and it is too serious to ignore. As stated at the outset, Iran is inhabited by Persians and Iraq is an Arab state. Both countries have ancient traditions of statehood, but at the current historical juncture, Iraq is in complete decline. Moreover, many states are inseparable from them. In general, the main differences are the following: national, linguistic, religious, state structure, political. National, already discussed, Arabs and Persians. Religious, both peoples practice Islam, but Islam is of different persuasions. Iran is the largest Shiite state in the world. Iraq, while majority Shiite, is still a more Sunni country. For ease of understanding, imagine Orthodox Christians and Catholics, or Catholics and Protestants. The churches are technically Christian, but the differences between the churches are substantial. Language differences. In Iraq, Semitic Arabic is spoken. In Iran, New Persian or Farsi, of the Indo-European language family. However, at the present stage, the biggest difference should be highlighted. It is, of course, the state structure of the two countries. After the Iraq War, Iraq, although destroyed to a large extent, is a classical parliamentary republic, a federal state. Despite the strong influence of Islam, in comparison with other Arab and Middle Eastern states, Iraq can be called even a secular country. With a stretch, of course, the Iraqi constitution explicitly defines Islam as the state religion. Islam is the official religion of the state and the main source of legislation. With Iran, the situation is strikingly different. Iran is the second largest economy in West Asia after Turkey. It is a developing state with a powerful army, a sovereign policy, and a steadily growing economy. Moreover, the country is persistently moving towards the development of peaceful nuclear energy. Given the cost of development, not all countries can afford it. However, the key difference lies in the area of state building. Iran is an Islamic republic. Moreover, religion is so closely intertwined with public and state institutions that the state is rightly considered theocratic. That is, religious power prevails over secular institutions. Supreme power in the country belongs to the Shiite clergy and the supreme leader of the country. The president of Iran is, in our view, a prime minister rather than a full-fledged leader of the country. It is time to summarize all of the above. Iran and Iraq are close in religion, but different in language, culture, form of government, and political regime. Despite the fact that both countries profess Islam, there have been repeated tensions between them throughout history. Moreover, both countries at one time claimed leadership in the Islamic world. And if after the defeat in Desert Storm Iraq has lost any chance of leadership in the foreseeable future, it is not even certain that it will be able to survive as a unified state. Iran continues its Middle East Cold War with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for leadership. Foreign policy orientations should not be forgotten either. Iraq is oriented towards Western countries, while Iran pursues its own policy. Mostly with a focus on Russia and China. Be that as it may, the story of the guests on our program is extremely interesting. Let's see how events will develop further. And what differences in politics and world importance of the states have you found, dear friends? Write your opinion in the comments until new meetings on our cozy channel. Subscription, likes, and bells are the best reward for us.